Tonight on Canada Now, we're launching a new feature, one that asks you, and more importantly, your kids to get involved. Frustrated with politics as usual? Think it's time for a change? Here's how your kids can help on Making the Grade.
Busloads of students visit Queen's Park just about every day, but there's a disconnect for most.
I think they fail miserably.
Probably like a 5 out of 10.
They don't target our audience.
So what kind of grade would that be?
Well, I guess a D, maybe an F.
The residents in my riding. Politics and politicians just don't rate that high with most teenagers. If they were to grade Queen's Park for excitement, it would probably get a needs improvement. Even politicians realize they're losing marks for wrong impressions. Please, next time. Especially with all that yelling during question period.
I think if they just came to us and asked our opinion, that would be better.
Students say they've got ideas, just no way to convey them.
I'd probably tell them to pay attention to us because we're your future votes.
Be careful what you wish for. You might just get that chance. This program, Canada Now, has arranged with all three parties here at Queen's Park to allow high school students to submit ideas for private members' bills. And just what is a private member's bill? Well, think of it as an independent bill put forward by a backbench MPP instead of the government. It's rare that they pass, but when they do, they can make a big difference.
Can you give me 5? All right, buddy.
Just ask Dave Levac. In the spring, he passed Sabrina's Law. It was named after a 13-year-old girl from Pembroke who died of an anaphylactic shock after accidentally eating food she was allergic to in her school cafeteria. Levac's bill requires schools to take steps to ensure the safety of students with severe allergies. Sabrina's Law won support from MPPs in all parties.
I declare the motion carried.
Levac thinks those politicians would welcome some fresh thinking.
Because we can never have enough ideas to move democracy forward.
And if those student ideas are interesting enough, they might, just might, get debated in the House. To be realistic, it is still quite rare for a private member's bill to become law, but there are some rules to consider. First of all, a private member's bill must deal with Ontario law. So forget about trying to legalize marijuana. That is a federal responsibility. Secondly, a private member's bill must be nonpartisan, something all politicians can support. So forget about trying to draft a bill that forces Dalton McGuinty to change his name to Doris. And finally, most importantly, a private member's bill can't force the government to spend any money.
An understanding of the process of government.
That still leaves plenty of room for creativity, so we're asking students to start brainstorming. If you guys had the chance to change a piece of legislation or introduce a new piece of legislation, what do you think you guys would want to do?
I think we should be able to vote because we're the future of tomorrow.
The drinking age should be lowered to 18 instead of 19.
We're asking teachers to gather those ideas and email them to makingthegrade@cbc.ca. You can go online to cbc.ca/makingthegrade for more information.
It might not end up at the end of the day being an actual law, but the process itself would give you some faith in the fact that we are an evolving democracy. We never stand still. We always change rules.
To be fair, changing those rules is a long shot. Suggesting an idea is easy. Getting it passed into law will require a lot of work. But if it can be done, some students might just give politicians an A for effort for taking the time to listen.
Catchy music, too.
Yes.
Mike Wise joins me now in the studio to explain how this is all going to work. So let's start with the deadline. What is it?
Well, November 10th. We're asking teachers to collect these ideas, send them in to us by November 10th. And please use your work email address so that we can filter and make sure we are getting suggestions from teachers. After that, we're going to take those ideas and present them to all three parties at Queen's Park. They've asked to participate in this, to have a look at them, to make sure they can veto anything that politically or ideologically they can't support. And they also want to make sure these are legit student ideas and that this hasn't been taken over by a special interest group or something like that. We'll come up with a little short list. Then it's back to the classroom when we're trying to track down and connect with really keen teachers who want to take this on as a sort of a class project and work up these ideas a bit more. If you're one of those keen teachers, contact me. You can find that out on the website. Work these ideas up into a bill, and deadline for submitting those to us is December 2nd.
And anything could happen, right? I mean, this could really become legislative. It could.
It could, but no guarantees at this point. There's, we could present these things to the politicians and nothing could happen, or we might get some MPPs take an interest and introduce one of them. If that happens, hey, that's great, because then we can go to the next phase where we actually follow what happens to one of those student bills from the student point of view as it goes through the system, and perhaps what the students are doing to maybe nudge it as it goes through the system.
Now let's talk about the website again. Where do people get the information they need to move forward?
It's cbc.ca/makingthegrade. It's an extensive website I put together. It's got an overview of the series. It's also got teacher resources, background material, but most importantly, it also has discussion groups, and that's going to be really key for this thing here. We're hoping to have teachers talk to each other and spark up a conversation about what's happening with the project, what's happening in the schools. Because if you think about it, at the end of the day, if we can get like a couple dozen bills from a couple dozen schools, that's great. What would be better is if those schools could collaborate, maybe work on 2 or 3 really strong bills and build a real grassroots support and grassroots momentum behind them. That comes to Queen's Park, and it might just catch the attention of the politicians a bit more easily.
Great idea, Meg, and I look forward to seeing what happens with it next.
Okay, thank you.